We've come on a Friday morning together a few hours before Shabbat to bring to the public's attention a dramatic rise in anti-Semitism, locally and nationally, on both polar extremes, left and right of our politics, in the form of verbal harassment, structural discrimination, and sometimes violence. I'd like to thank dearly Senator Scott Wiener and Mayor Daniel Lurie for coming together to agree to put this on, both members of our Jewish community and civic leaders in their own right, to send a strong message that Jews belong here in San Francisco, our Bay Area, and our country. I'm Ty Gregory, and I serve as the CEO of the Jewish Community Relations Council. We've been operating for 78 years, and we know that Jews are as American as apple pie, and we're as San Franciscan as the Giants, the Warriors, and the Valkyries. Today, we're here to declare Hineni, here I am. Repeat after me, here I am. Let's try it together. Here I am. We can come together to declare that Jews are a part of the fabric of our city and our country, and that we will not stand for anti-Semitism. Nationally, we have witnessed a string of high-profile anti-Semitic incidents. We saw the firebombing during Passover of Governor Shapiro's residence in Pennsylvania. We saw the murder in cold blood of 2 embassy staffers in Washington, D.C., and we saw a Molotov cocktail thrown at Jewish activists in Boulder, Colorado. A cousin of one of our staff members is in the hospital getting skin grafts today. Locally, we saw in recent weeks horrible vandalism outside Manny's, a civic institution in the Mission, and a group beating and harassment in the Marina District. Beyond that, we've heard countless examples from Jewish parents and families about harassment facing children in SFUSD and private schools in our city, and we will stand for none of it. We are all familiar with the anti-Semitism of the far right. It's neo-Nazism, it's white nationalism, but I'm here to tell you that the problem is on the other side of the aisle as well. This is a difficult time for vulnerable communities across our city. Just a week ago, many of the members of our community were here at the exact same time fighting for immigrants who are also afraid. It is part of our Jewish values and our Jewish traditions to stand up for the vulnerable. We will always fight for immigrants. We will always fight for LGBTQ rights. We will always fight for social justice movements because those are our values as a Jewish people. If Jews no longer feel safe, when Jews no longer feel safe showing up at anti-ICE protests and Black Lives Matter protests, that is not a reflection on our values. That is a reflection on how we're feeling about our own safety. And let me say loud and clear, social justice movements without Jews are social justice movements that will fail. We have been a bedrock of building the LGBTQ rights movement, protecting immigrants up until today. And if our community is not welcomed into these spaces that align with our values, our democracy and the fabric of our communities at large are at great risk. We will not walk away from our values, and we are asking you not to walk away from us. A couple statistics before we tell you who's on stage here. The New York Times recently released a high-profile record of hate crimes, and they found that Jews per capita are the most targeted minority group in the country. More than double the next group at 291 per million people hate crime incidents for Jews, the next being 111 per million for the LGBTQ community. The ADL found in 2024 that anti-Semitic hate crime incidents are up 344% over the past 5 years and up 893% over the past 10 years. The highest ever on their record, right, Mark, of the ADL? The highest ever on record since they started collecting this data. And finally, our JCRC polling has found that in the past 3 years, 42% of Bay Area Jews have witnessed or experienced anti-Semitism in the past 3 years. 55% of us are feeling less safe since the October 7th attacks and the surge in anti-Semitism that followed. And 41% of us have felt excluded from Bay Area civic life for simply being Jewish. My friends, this is a time of great fear in the Jewish community, but the message today is one of solidarity and it is one of strength. We are coming together to declare, here I am, because we refuse to be in the closet as a community. We refuse to be silenced. Together we can overcome this, and it's going to take everybody on this stage, in this audience, watching today and across our community to make sure that the promise for Jewish Americans, the safest diaspora country that we've ever experienced in our 3,000-year history, endures for generations to come. Let's all say it together one more time. Here I am. I want to thank our elected officials, from the California legislature, Senator Scott Wiener, from the City and County of San Francisco, Mayor Daniel Lurie, District Attorney Brooke Jenkins, City Attorney David Chiu, Board President Rafael Mandelman, Supervisors Matt Dorsey, Myrna Melgar, Danny Souter, Bilal Mahmoud, Stephen Sherrill, Commissioner Supriya Ray from SFUSD, Parks and Rec Manager Phil Ginsberg, Board of Appeals President John Trevisna, Arts Commissioner Deborah Walker, and around the Bay Area we have council members, mayors, and trustees, Melissa Blaustein of Sausalito, Rachel Kurtz, San Rafael, Mark Milberg of Novato, Holly Thier Tiburon, Igor Trega Berkeley, Daniel Nathan Heiss from the Contra Costa Community College Board, and Frankie Falzone representing Catherine Stephanie. And I want to thank our Jewish leaders here today from ADL, AJC, Chabad of Kol Valley, Chabad of Noe Valley, Chabad of the neighborhood, Chevra Techilim, Congregation Am Tikva, Beth Shalom, Ner Tamid, JCCSF, Magen David Sefarim, Congregation Sha'ar Zahav, Stand With Us, SF Jewish Community Federation, and Temple Emmanuel. I want to thank our community and civic partners from Chinese for Affirmative Action, Good Samaritan Family and Resource Center, SF Building Trades, the Democratic Party of San Francisco, the SF Interfaith Council. If I missed you, take it up with Jonathan. I'll read the rest later. Let's give them all a huge round of applause. And without further ado, I'd like to now introduce the 4th Jewish mayor of San Francisco, Daniel Lurie, who's been an incredible community partner to all of us. Mr. Mayor, thank you for partnering with our community, for standing with our public safety, and ensuring a bright future for Jews across San Francisco.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We also have Carmen Chiu and Assessor Recorder Joaquin Torres here with us. Thank you. Ty, thank you. I want to thank you and the Jewish Community Relations Council and Senator Scott Wiener for gathering us here today to condemn the recent acts of anti-Semitism here in San Francisco and across the United States of America. San Francisco is a place where people of all religions can practice their faith openly and proudly, without fear. A place where we welcome people with open arms. Just last week, as Ty mentioned, we came together right here on these steps with Jewish, Christian, and Muslim and other faith leaders from across our city to stand with our immigrant communities. And now, thanks to everybody here, we must all come together to stand with the Jewish community to condemn anti-Semitism. The bottom line is, hate has no place in San Francisco. We are not going to stand for it. I want to acknowledge SFPD and our incredible District Attorney, Brooke Jenkins. I want to thank them all for their swift actions to arrest the people responsible for the recent acts of anti-Semitism in the marina and prosecute them as the hate crimes that they are. As a member of the Jewish community, these incidents hit close to home. And as mayor for everyone in this city, no matter your race, no matter your religion, no matter your sexual orientation, I want to be clear that we have zero tolerance for acts of hatred. My administration will continue to protect and uphold our shared values of compassion and inclusion. If you commit a hate crime in San Francisco, we will find you and we will arrest you. Now, in these extremely complicated and challenging times, it is tempting to allow our fear of what is happening in the world to divide us, to pit one community against another. In moments like this, we must acknowledge the complex emotions that are alive for so many and come together as one community. My administration is working hard every single day to deliver results for San Franciscans. We are doing that by rejecting the politics of division that have been holding us back for years. That requires us to listen to one another, to give each other grace, even when, especially when, it is difficult. Let these acts be a reminder of our responsibility to foster understanding and remember our shared humanity. We are stronger together than we will ever be divided. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Lurie. We're grateful for your leadership. I'd like to also recognize Assessor Recorder Joaquin Torres is here. Thank you for joining us. And Nancy Tung, the chair of the San Francisco Democratic Party. I'd now like to thank you for being here. I'd like now to welcome San Francisco Senator in the state legislature, Scott Wiener, co-chair of the Jewish Legislative Caucus, who's been a champion of our community and, as a fellow gay Jew, I have to say, is taking body blows for two communities under fire. And we appreciate his leadership in San Francisco and the Jewish community. And let's give him a big round of applause. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Ty. It has been a horrific few months for Jews in this country. When we have the Jewish governor of Pennsylvania literally having his home set on fire while he and his family were sleeping inside. When we have Jews literally being set on fire while at a vigil in Colorado. An American Jew and a Christian Israeli shot and killed while leaving a Jewish community event. And now here in San Francisco, with members of our community, Jews, being beaten while people were shouting, "Fuck the Jews." This is so real, it is so horrific, it is so dangerous, and it is happening, and it must never be normalized. We must never become numb to it. But we also have to recognize that historically, tragically, this is quite normal. Not normal in the good sense, but normal in terms of reality. The history of Jews for thousands of years is a history of violence being committed against us, expulsions, being told that we don't belong, that we're invaders, that we're colonizers, that we need to go somewhere else, being the subject of conspiracy theories that lead to violence. That's the history of Jews. And so whether in Europe or Russia or Iran or the Middle East or in the United States of America, this is what our community experiences. And people are good, for the most part, at identifying anti-Semitism on the right, and on the right, anti-Semitism has a very long history. They know that when the Vice President of the United States travels to Europe to help elect a Nazi-aligned government in Germany, they know that that is anti-Semitic. They know that when Donald Trump has dinner with a literal Nazi and Holocaust survivor, Nick Fuentes, they know that that is anti-Semitic. They can identify it. and we must fight anti-Semitism on the right. It is toxic and it is destructive. People are less good at identifying anti-Semitism on the left. Because on the left, it doesn't get portrayed as, when people go on social media and call me a dirty Jew or a Jew faggot, that's what people associate with anti-Semitism. On the left, it gets disguised. It gets disguised as a progressive cause that just happens to overwhelmingly target Jews. And so we see it over and over again. We see it in our K through 12 schools, including in San Francisco, but not just San Francisco, up and down the state, where children are being taught to demonize Jews and being taught that Jews are violent, colonial invaders. That's what children are being taught in the state of California, in our schools. We see it on college campuses where Jewish students do not feel safe wearing a kippah or a Star of David because they are scared of being identified as Jewish and scared that they will be taunted or harassed as a result. We saw it at UC Berkeley when Jewish students had to be evacuated through a tunnel from a Jewish student event because of a mob that was trying to break in to the building. We also see it in community spaces. We see it in spaces, including in our own city, progressive spaces, where particularly for the last couple of years, Jews have not felt welcome, where Jews have been either asked to leave and been told, if you do not renounce a part of your Jewish identity, that Jews have a homeland, unless you renounce that, then you're a bad Jew. The whole good Jew, bad Jew, anti-Semitic standard that we've had for millennia, that you're a bad Jew unless you renounce part of your identity and you're not welcome here. We see it at protests where Jews stand up for marginalized communities, for immigrants, for folks who are being targeted. And the vast majority of the people at those protests are completely welcoming. But then you have a set of people who start harassing people, and guess what? Coincidentally, it's overwhelmingly Jews, and particularly visible Jewish leaders who get harassed and hounded out at times. It's the Jews. And it happens on a day-to-day basis. Just yesterday, a neighbor of mine in the Castro, a Jewish mother who has a very obviously Jewish last name, told me that she changed her last name to a fake last name on Uber because she was regularly being confronted by drivers recognizing her as a Jew about what was happening in Israel and Gaza. And it doesn't matter whether you as a Jew, as most American Jews, want the war to end, are not fans of Benjamin Netanyahu. It doesn't matter. You're a Jew, and so you are a target. And this is real, and it is happening every day, not just in San Francisco, but across the country and in many parts of the world, and it has to end. And Jews need to stand up and be proud and not hide. And our allies need to stand up and say that is not acceptable. And people need to do introspection about why it is that Jews are being targeted and why perhaps they are targeting Jews, even if they don't have a bad motive. So I want to thank all of our allies for standing with us. We are in such a difficult time, and so many communities are under assault in this country, and we all need to band together. And that's what this is about. So let's put an end to anti-Semitism and violence against Jews. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And I also want to give a shout out to your work and the work of the Jewish Caucus trying to get AB 715 passed, which will address anti-Semitism in K-12 education. Thank you for your leadership there. Next, I'd like to welcome up our District Attorney, Brooke Jenkins. DA Brooke Jenkins and her team have been amazing partners for our community. She's met with victims of hate crime incidents. She formed a Jewish advisory board. Raise your hand if your organization is on it up here, which has been an incredible resource to all of us. Thank you for making loud and clear that anti-Semitic hate crime incidents will be prosecuted as hate crimes. Thank you, DA.
Thank you, Ty. I'm heartbroken to be here, actually. Normally, I would start off by saying I'm honored to stand before you, but today I stand here heartbroken that we are even having to have a press conference on this issue. We live in a city that stands for acceptance of all people, no matter who you are, what you look like, or who you choose to love. And yet, we have to be real about the fact that San Francisco still has a long way to go when it comes to true acceptance of each other and all of our respective communities. And I, too, have seen, not only through cases presented to my office recently, but the postings of the images of the graffiti at Manny's. Manny's a space that we know brings together people who often disagree politically and ideologically about many topics. But he makes it available to us to be able to have open discourse about the things that we disagree on, but yet is threatened with his very life on the walls of that establishment. To see that we have come to a point of violence against a community simply because of who they are says that we have a lot of work to do in San Francisco. But I stand before you to say that while we engage in that work, my office will do its job to make sure that anyone who cannot hold inside what they think or believe when it is based on hate and acts upon those beliefs will be held accountable for what they do. As a former hate crimes prosecutor myself in the San Francisco DA's office, I have seen once before an uptick in the amount of hate crimes that we saw against certain communities in our city. And this is a time where we must bear down. We must make sure that we are doing everything in our power to hold individuals accountable who act in hateful ways that cross those lines. And that is what we are committed to doing. And we will continue to engage in working with various communities across San Francisco to move towards unity. We are at a time in our country where division is what, sadly, the leadership wants in Washington. But we have to make sure that we are coming together. This isn't about what's going on outside of the United States, in the Middle East, or anywhere else. This is about what we believe and who we are. And we must stand together, and we must make sure that San Francisco values are what rise to the top, because we need each other right now. As you heard, we've got immigrants fighting for their safety. We've got all sorts of communities right now who are in fear for many different reasons. And now is the time to come together, and we must do that. And so thank you so much for bringing us together on this topic. Hate is not something we will tolerate whatsoever in San Francisco. Thank you.
Me llamo Myrna Melgar y soy la supervisora del Distrito 7 y orgullosamente judía. I start out this way because I think it is a fact that folks don't know our community and the diversity of our community. There are millions of Jews in Latin America. My grandfather, Guillermo Melgar Oppenheimer, was the first of his generation to be born in El Salvador. That's how I ended up being born in El Salvador. And like many Latin Americans, we ended up here in San Francisco as part of the Jewish community. I say this because in these times when the federal administration is attacking San Francisco in particular, but all of us, for diversity, equity, inclusion, things that are so ingrained in the DNA of San Francisco, we are saying, here we are. We are here in all of our diversity of the Jewish diaspora, which includes every country in the world, basically. It includes Latin America, it includes Middle Eastern countries, it includes North Africa and Europe, it includes everything. And so here we are diverse. When we fight for immigrants' rights in San Francisco, like we just did last weekend, that also includes us. It includes me, an immigrant to San Francisco from Latin America and a proud Jewish woman. So I will say this. In my district, we are home to the San Francisco Hillel. We are home to Brandeis, our Jewish school, and Tikva, my own synagogue. I see some of our members here as well. And we have seen an uptick in violence and harassment in our community feeling unsafe, the entire diversity of our community. So in these times, when rooted in our San Francisco values, we are standing up for each other. Let's really do that. If you don't know much about the Jewish community, learn. Talk to your neighbors. I think values like ours in San Francisco of including are rooted in love, which is antithetical to violence, to hatred. So what we must do as San Franciscans is love each other, support each other, reach across differences, talk to each other, as difficult as that may be. We are living in difficult times, and the only way we can survive is by knowing each other and supporting each other. So thank you, Ty, for this wonderful press conference, but also thank you all for standing up for each other. We must do it if we are able to, as a community, survive these next 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Melgar. Next, I'd like to bring up someone who needs no introduction. Manny Yekutiel, come on up. I've known this guy for 13 years. We were both upstarts here in San Francisco. We had both recently just moved here, and we went on a date. It didn't work out. So don't try to set us up. We've tried that already. Last time I caught him off guard. He catch me off guard with that one. So, folks, the attack on Manny's was not just an attack on the Jewish community. Manny's is not a Jewish establishment. It's a civic establishment run by a Jewish person. And so the anti-Semitic vandalism that we saw was not simply an attack on a Jewish business owner. It was an attack on everything Manny stands for, which is civil discourse, engaging our community in our democracy. And I think that that's symbolic of what this surge in anti-Semitism is all about. It's not simply an attack on Jews. It's undermining the welfare of all communities in our country. And so, Manny, we all stand behind you. We're so proud that there has been a strong community outpouring. Thank you to Jen Riker, who created the GoFundMe, wherever she is, that raised over $200,000 to help Manny's rebuild. And just know that an attack on Manny's is an attack on all of us. Thank you, Manny. Please have the floor.
Oh, baby. This is a tough one. My name is Manny Yekutiel. I own Manny's, as Ty said. It's a venue for civic and political discourse. I'm the co-founder of the Civic Joy Fund, which is a nonprofit devoted to revitalizing our streets. And I'm a Jew, and I've had a really tough week. Before I tell you what happened in my business, I want to tell you a little bit about my parents. My father's from Afghanistan, my mother's a Polish Jew from Flatbush, and both of my parents' families fled their respective countries because they were being persecuted for being Jews. My father lived in a ghetto for hundreds of years in Herat, and my mother's family escaped the pogroms and the Holocaust to make it to America. So this is in my blood. I came to San Francisco 13 years ago because I heard that San Francisco was a place where no matter who you are, and no matter where you've come from, and no matter what your family story is, there's a place for you in this city. And I've had the most amazing 13 years in the city that we have. And last week was the first time in 13 years that I really started to question whether or not the city was actually meant for me anymore. Because what happened last week was I got the call that every small business owner has as their worst nightmare. I got a call from a customer saying, there's someone breaking down the windows during our event. I don't know if I'm safe here. I don't know what to do. What do I do? I got there, and thank God our windows were thick enough that the protester was not able to enter the space and attack my customers. But then I went back to bed, and I woke up to another nightmare, a text message from my landlord saying, they broke the other window, they got in, there's graffiti everywhere, there are death threats on your walls, what do you want me to do? I rushed back to my business that morning, and I lost it. The mayor knows, he was there, I was sobbing on my couch because what happened is I walked in my business and I had words like, die Zionist, Intifada, death to Israel, the only good settler is a dead one, written on my walls. I'm not even Israeli. I looked at the graffiti throughout the day while I talked to community members, and the feeling in the pit of my stomach was, maybe I don't belong here anymore. Maybe the city isn't for me. Thank God we have a community like the people around me, the elected officials, the community leaders, the religious people, religious leaders, that all wrapped around me to remind me that, yes, in San Francisco in 2025, Jews are welcome here. This is something that's happened to our people throughout history. I'm not the only one whose windows have been broken. I'm not the only Jew throughout history who's had messages on their walls saying, you don't belong here. But there is a dark tide of anti-Semitism that is covering our country, and its shadow has reached our city. San Francisco cannot allow this to happen. We have to stand against it because it is in our blood to be a city that welcomes everyone. I'm so glad that this press conference is happening. Thank you, Ty and the JCRC, for calling it, because while what happened to my cafe may have been on the news, what we know is that this is happening to people all the time in San Francisco. It's not just me, it's folks walking the marina, it's folks going to work, it's people on the Muni buses, it's people going to go buy a baked good in their neighborhood, it's people in their workplaces. This is happening in our city, and it's the right time to say again, to remind everyone that we have to say it loudly, we have to say it proudly, we have to say it as a community that anti-Semitism has no place in San Francisco. So we're not going anywhere, and I'm not going anywhere. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Manny's. Let's all make a pledge that we're going to go buy a cup of coffee in the next 2 weeks at Manny's. Who's in? What's that? Yeah, good for small business. Next, I'd like to invite up Rabbi Amanda Russell from Congregation Beth Shalom to share some reflections on behalf of the rabbis here on stage, please.
On Tuesday, I had the honor of welcoming an 8-day-old baby into the covenant of the Jewish people and giving him his name. This baby was the son of a couple whose wedding I officiated a year ago and whose mother's conversion I witnessed a few months before that. To be a part of life's most precious Jewish moments has been both holy and profound. It is for these moments that I became a rabbi. And it is for these moments, some of great joy and others of holding each other in heartbreak, that so many of us continue to be deeply proud of and committed to our Judaism. Because being Jewish means connecting to the traditions of generations before us and studying ancient texts to help us live meaningful Jewish lives. And being Jewish means welcoming the stranger and treating our neighbors as we want to be treated. Unfortunately, these recent events have dimmed the light of our people. Because sometimes we have to choose between Jewish joy or attending a security briefing. And we feel anxious when we go to see a Jewish film and there are no security guards at the entrance. And worst of all, instead of welcoming the stranger with open arms, as our Torah explicitly commands us to do, we screen each new person and greet them with trepidation. Have they come to join us because they are curious or love Judaism, or do they want to harm us? We are here to talk about anti-Semitism, which grew exponentially after the horrific Hamas attacks on October 7th, but it did not start on that day or the day after. Jews have suffered anti-Semitism for generations, trauma that is layers upon layers deep. So when the glass is shattered at Manny's, or Jews are assaulted in the streets, we become more afraid and our hearts break a little bit more. Another layer is added to the trauma. But our fears and our desires for safety do not negate the feelings and right to safety for anyone else. Being a proud Jew or condemning anti-Semitism does not mean we are trying to erase the experience or suffering of others. In fact, as Jews, we are supposed to feel each other's pain, and learning to live with and celebrate our differences is our moral imperative. If the city of San Francisco wants to continue to be a city of light and innovation and tolerance, we cannot and will not tolerate the hatred of Jews or any other minority group. We must remind ourselves over and over and over again that all people were created B'Tselem Elohim in the image of God, and each one of us is holy and unique, and none of us should ever live in fear. The creation story teaches, Lo tov heyot ha'adam levado. It is not good for a person to be alone, and thank God we are not alone. It is the small and courageous acts like Mayor Lurie showing up to Manny's on the morning after the anti-Semitic vandalism, or District Attorney Jenkins charging the anti-Semitic assaults as hate crimes, or Michael Pappas of the SF Interfaith Council, who just calls to ask if our communities are okay. Each one of these holy acts, those I've named and those of our elected officials, help us to heal and our fears and feelings of isolation. Our light may be dimmed, but it will never go out. And the Jewish community will continue to combat the hate by reaching out with love, compassion, and respect for all people. Thank you to the JCRC, Mayor Lurie, Senator Wiener, District Attorney Jenkins, and other elected and civil leaders whose work in the Jewish community is essential and who organized us today. And to my Jewish brothers and sisters who may be feeling scared and alone, come be a part of a Jewish community and help me to teach the next generation that Judaism is not built on fear, but on hope, love, and endless amounts of joy. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be so.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Russell. We're going to continue with our next speaker, City Attorney David Chiu. Come on up. I want to tell you a quick story, which is at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, we saw a surge of anti-Asian hate. And I reached out to the city attorney and asked what the Jewish community could do. And we started building relationships with the API Council and API organizations around Chinatown and Japantown, and the API Jewish Roundtable was formed, of which the mayor, before he was elected, became a part of. We traveled to New York and DC together to learn about our shared immigration stories. And now that the Jewish community is under fire in a parallel way, something overseas resulting in a collective punishment against us as a minority community, the API community has stood shoulder to shoulder with the Jewish community, especially over the past couple of years. So I want to thank our city attorney for his long friendship and solidarity with the Jewish community. He also has great jokes about where Jews like to go on Christmas. It's all yours.
Thank you, Ty, for your leadership. Brothers and sisters, good morning. I'm so grateful for all of us coming together today. And like all of us, I am so profoundly saddened that we have to come together today. Just a few minutes ago, I got off a call with my counterparts around the state of California. And I'm here not just because of the violent attack in the marina or because of the horrific attack on Manny's, but because of the disturbing rise of anti-Semitism in San Diego, in Los Angeles, in Oakland, in San Jose, around the state and around our country. And I want to just note that the timing of us being here at this moment during this very dark year is not an accident. Let me remind us that during the first year of the first Trump administration, America saw spikes in hate and bigotry against immigrants in the Latino community, the Muslim community, the LGBTQ community, the black community, and we saw skyrocketing rates of the oldest hatred in world history, and that is against our Jewish community. There was a report last year called Antisemitism and Democracy that warned how anti-Semitism is not just about hate against Jews. It's a sign of deeper threats to democracy, often accompanying efforts to centralize power, restrict civil liberties, and scapegoat marginalized groups. As Ty just mentioned a few years ago, when my Asian community was experiencing the worst hate in our lifetimes, Jewish leaders standing here today came out to support us. And I'm going to say what we all said then. If you come after any of us, particularly our brothers and sisters in the Jewish community, you come after all of us. And I want you to know, as your city attorney, I am proud to stand with our community against anti-Semitism and hate. Let me just conclude with this. My guess is many of us here today are thinking about 1930s Germany, about that poem that reminds us that first they came for the socialists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a socialist. And then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Jew. And then they came for me, and at that point, there was no one left to speak for me. We all need to speak up at this moment, because when they come after our Jewish families, it is wrong, it has to end, but we also have to speak up, because when they come after our Jewish families today, tomorrow they are coming after all of us. And let me just remind us that we are the city of St. Francis. We stand for love. This is the month of Pride. We stand for love. Love will overcome hate. I am profoundly optimistic that it will. This darkness will turn into light. We will be there when it happens. Godspeed. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, David Chiu. We have 4 speakers left from diverse voices, and then we'll be concluded. Next, I'd like to welcome up Frankie Falzon. Assembly member Stephanie wanted to be here, but she's traveling today. She's been an incredible champion of our community since she first got elected to the Board of Supervisors. Frankie, come on up and read a message from the Assembly member, please.
Thank you, Ty. Good afternoon. My name is Frankie Falzon. I serve as the District Director to Assemblymember Catherine Stephanie. She unfortunately is not able to be here today with us, but asked me to read this message on her behalf. I'm sickened by the surge of anti-Semitic hate we are witnessing in our neighborhoods, on our campuses, and across our country. What happened at Manny's, in the marina, and at City College is not isolated. It is all part of a disturbing trend. Let me be clear, anti-Semitism is hate. It must be condemned loudly, publicly, and unequivocally. We cannot allow this behavior to be normalized or excused under any circumstance. I will continue to stand with the Jewish community, to demand accountability, to push for stronger protections, and to ensure California never wavers in its fight against hate in all forms. Thank you to the JCRC and to every leader here today who is showing up, speaking out, and standing together in solidarity. Thank you.
Thank you, Frankie. Thank you, Assembly Member Stephanie. Next, I'd like to invite up our board chair, Jan Riker. Jan is going to read a statement from the victim in the marina incident who's traveling, but we felt it was critical to include a message from her today. Thank you, Jan.
Quotes. This past Saturday, early in the morning, my friend and I were sitting on the street when we heard someone repeatedly yelling, "Fuck the Jews." I, a Jewish person, and my friend, who is not Jewish, turned around to the man yelling this hateful language. I told him that I was Jewish and asked him to stop. Following that, my friend was violently attacked for standing up to hate. We were simply speaking up against something that was wrong. A person in the street screaming, "Fuck the Jews." To beat someone for their perceived connection to anything is egregious and should concern anyone who values living in a society where no one should be in fear of being attacked because of their religion, their race, nationality, or any identity. It is no secret that our world is in a state of heightened politicization, but there is nothing political about being Jewish in public. Whether you're wearing a Star of David or entering a synagogue, simply being Jewish should never mean violence is headed your way. Following the attack, my friend and I spent the night in the hospital until 7 a.m. as he was recovering after being knocked unconscious. When I came back to my home, before anything else, I took my mezuzah, a Jewish symbol outside of my home, off my door hinge. I did so out of fear that a small symbol of my Judaism could somehow upset people or be a target of hate. If I can't be Jewish in my home or out on the street, where can I be? I want to thank DA Jenkins for her quick response, as well as Mayor Lurie for showing that there is no room for any form of anti-Semitism and violent attacks in our city. I also want to thank the overwhelming support I have received from the greater Jewish community and members of the San Francisco community. Hate does not discriminate, violence is never the answer, and no one should be a target of violence because of their identity.
Looks like we have a short recess from the Budget Committee, so I'd like to welcome up Board President Rafael Mandelman, a proud member of our community, to share a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. Supervisor Dorsey is also here. We were both in Budget and Appropriations. I know Supervisor Sherrill is here. Any other supervisors? And Supervisor Melgar. And I want to thank Supervisor Melgar for co-authoring with me a resolution condemning anti-Semitism that we introduced on Tuesday, and I'm sure will be supported unanimously on Tuesday. I'm sure someone here, I apologize for arriving 40 minutes late, but I'm sure someone here has quoted the statement that anti-Semitism is a light sleeper. And it is true that, and for much of my life, I had no experience or notion that anti-Semitism was something that could happen in the United States. My grandmother was a Holocaust survivor. My father was a Holocaust survivor. This was something that happened in other countries, and that here in the United States, happily, we were free from. Now, actually, the place where I realized that might not be the case was this very building, when I was a 15 or 16-year-old intern one summer, and a constituent started talking to me about the Jewish bloodsuckers. And that was a little bit of a moment for me when I thought, whoa, this is not just other countries, other places. This is something that is here in the United States. And of course, over the years, you have these encounters where you're just sort of like jarred awake that, oh, it's out there. Over the last 2 years, I think any doubt that anti-Semitism is alive and well and a menace to Jews, even here, has been laid to rest. And incidents that have piled up over the last few weeks, impacting prominent Jewish folks, impacting average folks just trying to walk around in the marina, damage to property. It is truly troubling. And so I want to thank my colleagues on the board again, Supervisor Melgar especially, for the work that we're doing on this resolution. And I want to thank the mayor for your leadership and for bringing us here today on the steps. And I want to thank JCRC and Ty Gregory and the team who've done such an amazing job these always, but especially over the last couple years, standing up for the community and doing what's good for the Jews and good for everybody. So thank you.
Thank you, Rafi. We're down to our last two speakers. I'd like to welcome up Rebecca Randall with the San Francisco-based Jewish Community Federation and Endowment Fund. The Jewish Federation has been an incredible partner in ensuring the safety of our congregations and our Jewish institutions. They oversee our Jewish security program, and that's been an indelible resource, especially over the past 20 months. Rebecca, take it away.
Thank you, Ty. On behalf of the Jewish community of the San Francisco Bay Area, one of the largest and most vibrant Jewish communities in the country, I want to thank Mayor Lurie, Senator Wiener, District Attorney Jenkins, and all of the civic and elected leaders that are here today, along with all of our allies, for their time and their partnership. Like Ty said earlier, Jews have been an important part of the social fabric of this community since the gold rush. And we have not only worked with this city to build some of the most important institutions, we have also worked tirelessly and advocated on behalf of some of the most important social justice issues of our time, from the unhoused to immigration to LGBTQ+ rights. And we refuse to be silenced by fear. The Jewish Community Federation and Endowment Fund has been working to protect and serve the Jewish community in the Bay Area for over 125 years. But the epidemic of anti-Semitism that you've heard about from all of the speakers and you are seeing in the news every day demands immediate action. It is relentless. We are managing security, responding to incidents, obtaining restraining orders against people who have taken to harassing parents, simply dropping off their kids in the morning at school, and offering support to our community every single day. Most of our security work happens quietly, behind the scenes. Since October 7th, we have addressed over 40 threats, including bomb threats, to local synagogues, schools, and community centers, and we've dealt with more than 220 incidents of harassment, intimidation, and threats to ensure they don't turn into tragic headlines. There are 4 things that I'm asking for today on behalf of our community. 1, dedicated public funding to secure Jewish institutions across the city. 2, ongoing partnership with law enforcement and elected leaders. 3, public support from our leaders, many of whom are here today. Not just elected officials, but everyone in a position of leadership, from faith to school to community leaders. And lastly, and just as important, stay aware and be vigilant. It may be a cliche, but it has also never been more true. See something, say something. Like David Chiu said, history shows what begins with the Jews never ends with just the Jews. Anti-Semitism is a symptom of a broader sickness in our society, an epidemic of hate that threatens everyone. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, the Federation is here in partnership with JCRC and all of you to ensure that San Francisco continues to be a city of love for all of our residents. We call on our allies, our neighbors, and our leaders. Show up and speak out. The Jewish community is strong and resilient, and with your partnership, we will all prevail together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca, to you and the Federation for your partnership and your leadership. Before Michael Pappas here bats cleanup, for a good reason, I want to thank all of you again. We need to make sure that the Jewish community is included in every aspect of civic life like every other community. I tell everyone that I meet with, we're not asking for special treatment, we're asking for equal treatment. If you have a DEI initiative, make sure anti-Semitism and Jewish identity are properly included. If you make special accommodations for other communities, we ask that you do so for ours. We ask that you see us, that you include us, and make sure that we belong in this beloved community. I'd like to close by inviting up my friend Michael Pappas, who runs the San Francisco Interfaith Council, and dozens of Jewish congregations are members of the SFIC. He's also a dear personal friend, the first and only ever non-Jewish member of the JCRC board in its 78-year history, and a personal confidant. And I'm going to say the quiet part, which is things have been stressful for us over the past couple of years. And Michael calls me and sometimes he says, Ty, I think you need a gin and tonic on my dock in Marin. And while I've been proud to call you a partner, I've been even more lucky to call you a friend. Michael, please close this out. And before you do, I just want to give a big shout out to Jonathan Mincer for putting this all together. Where is he? Where is he? Jonathan spent his birthday yesterday. Let's give him a big round of applause. Happy birthday, Jonathan. Thank you for spending your birthday putting this all together. You can thank him later. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome up my friend to close us out, Michael Pappas. Take it away.
Confession is good for the soul. As the psalmists proclaim how good and pleasant it is for sisters and brothers to dwell together in unity, I am here, we are here, not standing behind the Jewish community, but shoulder to shoulder with the Jewish community in allyship. I bring to this podium the love, the prayers, the solidarity, and the allyship of our city's 800 communities of faith and religious institutions. And as we quickly approach the Shabbat, if I may indulge you and invite us all to bow our heads in prayer and lift up our prayers to our Holy Creator. O Holy One, in this light of day, we assemble in your presence and in the presence of one another to bear witness and give testimony to the hateful treatment lodged against your children, the Jewish people, the children of Abraham, the children of Isaac, and the children of Jacob, the children to whom you revealed yourself, formed a covenant, and entrusted with the law and the prophets, the ancient and sacred texts which religions to follow attest to and continue to read and worship, sing in hymns, and depict in art. We who have come to follow have strayed, O Holy One. We have strayed. Instead of following these sacred tenets of your divine revelation, our actions have betrayed our poorer nature. Instead of recognizing your image and likeness in the other, as revealed in the creation account of the sacred scripture, and showing honor and thanksgiving to these your children and their children, the gifts and the contributions of the Jewish people through the ages have been met with shameless acts of violence and hatred at the rageful hands and hardened hearts of extreme ideologues at both ends of the political spectrum and the lukewarm indifference of those in between. Expelled from nations, put into ghettos, discriminated against, and exterminated before our very eyes, those perpetuating these abominable and savage acts through sheer tenacity and audacity seek to cleverly distort truth and treacherously rationalize, normalize, and spread such vileness by every means and method at their disposal. O Holy One, we confess that such hateful acts are not consigned to the historic past in far-off places, but continue to be perpetuated before your and our very eyes here and now. You have gathered us here among those who seek justice to give voice to the Jewish victims, those whose businesses have been defaced and vandalized, those who have been turned away from societal gathering places and spaces because of who they are and the faith they profess, those innocent students seeking to further their education, being blocked from going to class or entering libraries by violent and angry mobs, and those countless traumatized souls persevering in silence, living in fear and alienation, wondering why their once devoted allies have fallen silent. And yet, amidst the gravity of this adversity, we see your children, the Jewish people, journey on with resilience. True to the tradition you have bequeathed to them, they endure with hope, live with uncertainty, remember the past, and rebuild with confidence, embodying the strength of their deep and abiding ancient belief. Bless them, O Holy One, and continue to strengthen and comfort them in their journey of suffering. Give to them and to us the courage and boldness, not to fear or shrink to silence, but rather to expose the injustice of anti-Semitism and anti-Semitic acts and call to account those who perpetrate them. And to all your creation, your children, show us the way of repentance, endow us with wisdom, soften our hearts, temper our words and actions, and make us a more perfect reflection of your image and likeness, so that living according to your divine will, we may restore peace and harmony to creation and the planet you have entrusted us to care for. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Michael, for that beautiful prayer. Thank you again, Mayor Lurie, for having us, Senator Wiener, and all the civic and elected officials here together. Before we go, let's say, here I am as a community one more time. Here I am. Thank you all for coming. Shabbat Shalom.